The following is a rebroadcast of the 1992 Tri-State Doubles Tournament of Champions. Be sure to join Doug Brown and Dan Murphy on Sunday, October 11th at a new time, 5 p.m., for a brand new season of Stars and Strikes doubles.
Mike Morgan and Paul St. Pierre were shooting for their second straight win last Sunday on the Doubles Tournament of Champions. But the match against Norm Bork and Ed Emerson was pretty much dead even, coming down to the last 5 boxes. That was when the Morgan-St. Pierre team came up with some critical and entertaining marks.
Oh! Spare on strike for Paul St. Pierre. Let's take another look at that one.
I don't think he was going after the wood.
A 398 and another win. So today, Morgan and St. Pierre try to keep it rolling against Joe Ashline and Steve Vadney. This is Week 3 of the Tri-State Megabucks Doubles Tournament of Champions.
Stars and Strikes doubles. From Park Place Lanes at Windham, featuring outstanding Candlepin bowlers from all over New England. Stars and Strikes Doubles is produced in conjunction with the New Hampshire Candlepin Bowling Association. And now your hosts, Doug Brown and Dan Murphy.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Park Place Lanes. Hour number 2 here on The Winds. This is Week 3 of the Tournament of Champions. And now, of course, we move to the Doubles Tournament of Champions, where Mike Morgan is the story here, as he has been so far in the singles event. He's got 2 wins in a row there, and he's got 2 wins in a row here with his partner, Paul St. Pierre.
They changed the name of the show to the Mike Morgan Show, I think, the way he's going. He's been bowling terrific, and last week they bowled well as a team here in the doubles as well.
Well, now we have a little bit of news to inform you of. Of course, the tie that was created when Steve Vadney and Joe Ashline qualified for the Tournament of Champions in doubles just a few weeks ago. We told you we'd be settling that tie as they were even at 4-12 with Mike Morrill and Jack Quinn. Well, that tie was broken, and Mike Morrill and Jack Quinn were the winners of that one-string roll-off. They had 7 marks in the string, in the roll-off string, including 5 in a row at one stretch. So that means Joe Ashline and Steve Vadney slide in at that number 3 spot. So that means in order to win 3 matches in a row, Morgan and St. Pierre will have to beat a pretty tough team.
Well, either one of those teams would have been tough, but this certainly these fellas have been here before.
All right, let's talk about these 2 teams now for today's show, Week 3. First of all, our number 6 seeded team, they've won 2 matches already with a 399 2 weeks ago and then a 398 last week. Mike Morgan from Lynn and his partner from Manchester, New Hampshire, Paul St. Pierre.
Okay, Mike comes in averaging 126 and a high single of 188. Paul St. Pierre 125 and 197. As you said, bowling very consistently.
And they have just missed 400 triples in their first 2 weeks on the show. But more importantly, they have the 2 wins. So they're going to try and make it 3 in a row this week. But in order to do it, they will have to beat that number 3 seeded team that we just talked about. From Nashua, New Hampshire, Joe Ashline. And from Claremont, New Hampshire, Steve Vadney.
Okay, and Joe comes in averaging 128, has a high single of 203. And Steve Vadney comes in at 128 also, and a 197 for a high single.
All right, of course, the winners of this match will move on to the semifinals. That'll be next week against our number 2 seeded team. We'll tell you more about that as time goes on in the hour. But we've got 3 strings of doubles Candlepin bowling coming up here on the Tri-State Megabucks Doubles Tournament of Champions. We'll be back to get the match started right after these words. Don't go away. Before we get to the match, just a little bit more on that one-string roll-off between Joe Ashline and Steve Vadney, bowling against Mike Morrill and Jack Quinn. A 134 for Morrill and Quinn, a 116 for Ashline and Vadney, and as we mentioned, Morrill and Quinn at one stretch had 5 consecutive marks in that game. So as a result of that one-string roll-off victory, Morrill and Quinn move into the number 2 spot. Ashline and Vadney drop to the number 3 spot, and that's why they're the opponents for Mike Morgan and Paul St. Pierre in this match. The winners of this one, of course, move on, and next week we'll face Mike Morrill and Jack Quinn. 2 weeks from today in the championship match, Gary Carrington and Jack Ray will be here against whichever team survives. So once again, here's that unfamiliar face, Mike Morgan.
They say all getting to know. Getting to know those 9-pin drops and strikes pretty well, too, because he's been bowling exceptionally well.
Well, if you tuned in late, in the first hour today, he knocked off his brother Tom in the singles tournament of champions for his 2nd straight win on that show. So next Sunday at noon, Mike is guaranteed to be back here next Sunday anyway, because he'll be back to face Dave Richards in the semifinal of the singles tournament. And of course, if he and Paul St. Pierre can put another win on the board here in doubles, then he'll be back again next week in doubles too. He starts off with a mark in box number 1. And he fills it with a strike.
Ho hum. It's another day at the office. Walk in the park, whatever you want to say, but he's just got so much confidence, and he's on that head pin, well, 9 out of 10 balls anyways with that first ball. Well,
Joe Ashline will look at the 3 and the 9. The half Worcester pins for a spare, and he's got it.
very nicely done. Just hits the 3-pin, the wood and everything takes the 9-pin for their first mark, and we're perfect through 3 completed frames, all marks, 2 spares and a strike.
Joe Ashline and Steve Vadney qualified for the Tournament of Champions just 3 weeks ago in the final chance of the season as they beat Mike Sargent and Stan Mayo. They rolled a 4-12 to win it. Strings of 136, 129, and 147.
Dropped that one right on the foul line. Gave a little bounce to it, but dropped 7, 6, 7, 10. Piece of wood right in the middle of the lane. Could give him some help. Let's see. Oh, he's too high. Tried to deflect the ball off that piece of wood for the 7 and have the piece of wood take the 6-10. Didn't happen for him, but yeah, it's going to be an 8.
Joe Ashline was in the finals of last year's singles Tournament of Champions. He lost to Pat Pay. Now Paul St. Pierre.
Working on a strike. And it's a 7 drop.
Eight. 45 through 3.
Half Worcester right for Paul.
So an 8 and a 7 for Paul in his first effort of the day.
It gives him 52 through 4. First look at another familiar face to Candlepin Stars and Strikes, Steve Vadney.
A look from over Steve's right shoulder as he approaches lane 32. A little comebacker, but he's still got the 7-pin down there. So an early lead for Morgan and St. Pierre. They have been in the lead most of the time since this tournament began. Well, Steve was light in the pocket. He ended up moving the 2-pin a little bit, but it didn't go over.
That might give him a better angle for the 10-pin.
Carried it.
Nice shot. I think he was going to carry the 8 at first. But there it goes.
Mike Morgan in the 5th, and he'll shoot at the 2-5 for a spare.
Not
Nope.
this time.
$10, 62 half for the team. Right back on the head pin, but how about the diamond leave? 2, 5, 6, 8. Make it 2, 4, 5, 8, and the 4 is still there.
Mike heard you when he was trying to knock the 6-pin down. Forgot the 4.
2 10s for Mike.
72 through 6. And a chance for Joe Ashline to gain the lead. Down by 8, working on a spare, opposite 2 open frames.
And he's got the same leave with everything else flying into the pit. Exactly what happened a moment ago.
Wow. How do you get the front pin out and nothing else?
Oh, nice 10. The reverse, the inverted triangle for a 10. That's a nice shot.
Just dance the 4-pin right across into the 8 and then finally the 5.
Joe's maybe thinking, geez, maybe if I had aimed for the 4-pin, I might have made the spare.
Oh, that was a lob.
Well, it didn't cost him much.
Joe said thank you.
Chopped out the 1 and the 9, so he'll get a fresh rack here.
Well, it's a little better, but not much.
Twice as good. Knocked
Yeah,
out
that's
4
right.
that time.
But you only have 1 ball left now. And it's a tough 7. 5-pin advantage now for Morgan and St. Pierre.
Paul St. Pierre pulls it to the left a bit, but he winds up with just the 1 and the 5 with some favorable wood in between. There is a piece of wood in the back, but I don't... Oh, it helped. Actually, I was talking about the piece of wood on the other side of the 5-pin, but that didn't come into play.
Tomorrow will be just another spare.
Line drive in the scorebook.
Half a dozen.
Nope, pulled it to the left. And there's a $10 for Paul. 98 through 8. Brings up Steve Vadney. Steve from Claremont, New Hampshire. Wife Annette, daughter Jennifer, son Stevie. Steve works at Sturm Ruger Company and does a lot of his bowling at the Sunset Lanes in Newport. And he shoots at the triangle. No.
3, 5, and 6. Knocked the 6 out of there, missed the object pin, so they'll lose a few more to Morgan and St. Pierre, and the lead will be in double figures at 11.
Steve is back on the head pin, but once again, not a spare leave, really.
No. 3, 6, 10 on the right and the 2-pin. Going to try to slap the 2-pin in the wood. Didn't work out. Now he'll try to grab 3. And more than likely will lose another 1 or 2 and count. Make it 3.
So the lead is 14. All the Tournament of Champions action here on the Winds brought to you by Tri-State Megabucks. Just imagine being rich. give it a whirl. Tri-State Megabucks, longtime supporters of Candlepin Bowling and, of course, of Stars and Strikes here on the Winds. They're with us all year, as we mentioned, but this the premier event of the season. And, of course, after 2 weeks from today, when we crown champions in both the singles and doubles tournament of champions, we'll be taking a break for the summer. Mike Morgan.
Speaking of summer, doesn't mean that Candlepin Bowling stops. All of your NHCBA houses have a variety of summer leagues, and they're taking signups now. So any of you are interested in summer league, all air-conditioned places, and it's a great place to spend a summer evening. Join a summer league.
Well, a point well made, and also I don't want to give the impression that Stars and Strikes ends during the summer either, because we present some of the best shows from the past season during the summer. So we invite you to tune in for those. Chance to catch up on some action you might have missed the first time around. Mike Morgan will have a spare leave this time, the 2-4.
If your travel itinerary takes you to Boston, don't forget the New England Sports Museum. You're looking for the Candlepin exhibit. The entire museum is scheduled to open in October. They have a free exhibit right now outside the Cambridge Side Galleria Mall, right behind the Museum of Science.
It's a great spot. It's a great location. The mall itself is beautiful, and they're doing a lot of landscaping around the area and so forth. It's a beautiful spot.
Really is. Really is. It's going to be a nice exhibit, so be watching for us. We're hoping the Candlepin exhibit will be ready in October as well, but if not, it will be there soon after. A brainstorm of Dave Collins. He is the director of the museum and a great hustler, and he's got a great thing going here, and it's going to be very, very nice.
And the years-long battle and struggle to get a permanent location finally ended with the agreement to move into the Cambridge Side Galleria. And you know, at first thought, it sounds like a kind of a strange concept to have a museum at a mall, but the more you think about it, I mean, it makes it very accessible to people, and they don't have to make a separate trip to go to it, and it'll be right there, and it really is a great piece of floor space in the mall. Very impressive.
And when you come up to Concord, to Barwell's Bowling Center, I can even give you directions. In case your travels take you through Concord on the way to Boston. Doug and I do that, right? Take a left and you should take a right. It's going to be a lot of fundraising events starting next year, or even in summer. Bowl-a-thons and golfing events, and a lot of things to raise some money for the Candlepin exhibit.
Did someone say golf?
Yeah, we'll be out there, Doug. See, all the people are going to write letters now, their bowling experiences in the summer, and we'll tell them about our golfing experiences. That'd be a real blast, huh?
Kind of like fishing stories.
That's right.
Joe Ashline finishes up game one. The score close. Both teams struggling a bit in this first game. 117 for Mike Morgan and Paul St. Pierre. 101 for Joe Ashline and Steve Vadney. Game two coming up. Steve Vadney begins game two. Boy, for a minute it looked like he was really going to get robbed. The 4-5-10. He got a break and kicked the 4 and 5 out of there.
He's got to make a choice here, whether to try to get the 10-pin clean or use the wood, and he's going after the wood, which is the way I would have played it.
Yeah, there wasn't much room to get by there, it didn't appear. That's mark number 3 for the team of Ashline and Vadney. All spares so far. Morgan and St. Pierre have 3 marks as well. They have a strike. Good ball. Strike on spare, and there's strike number 1 for the team.
Can't be much better than that. Steve looked like he had a little more speed on that ball. Cut the 1-2 pocket, and the result was a strike, and that's doubly important because he was working on a spare.
Paul St. Pierre to begin game 2 for his team.
Paul lives in Manchester. Just missing the 2-pin.
Tried to cut the 2-pin over.
Paul and his wife Maureen have 3 daughters, 16-year-old Jessica, 12-year-old Amanda, and 6-year-old Nicole. That's a fine shot for the 10.
He kind of shrugged his shoulders like, well, maybe I should have played it there. Well, hindsight. Fortunately, you can't have it back.
Paul works as a tool and die maker at New Hampshire Stamping. And he's trying to work out here in this second box.
They're going to lose the lead.
Takes it for a 9. And that's right. Anything more than a 5 on this strike fill for Joe Ashline will give his team the lead. One of the few times in 3 weeks that the team of Morgan and St. Pierre will be trailing. Joe really whips that arm around. We've talked about his style before. He gets an incredible amount of arm extension and backswing. Generates an awful lot of power.
That's an 8 fill and enough to take the lead by 3.
And an 8 bucks. Quick reminder, one of our other participating sponsors on the Stars and Strikes Doubles Tournament of Champions, the folks at Somerville Lumber, who want to help you with your home improvement or betterment projects. Little things you got to take care of around the house. Somerville Lumber, get it right the first time. Joe bounced that one a little bit. Lost it to the right. Laid that one down very nicely, though.
Good recovery and almost converted that for a spare. 7-10 left. 2 open frames for Mike Morgan to work on.
Mike, who's had such an outstanding record over the years here on Stars and Strikes, adding to it right now in our 2 tournaments of champions here.
Averaging well into the 130s.
He's the only man to be in both tournaments. He's the number 4 seed in singles and on the number 6 seeded team in doubles.
7-8 he's looking at. He's a wood in between.
Spare.
Oh, he's taking advantage of the 2 open frames by throwing the mark here in the 3rd, 7-8. He'll fill the spare. Looks pretty good. Maybe a little light, but he dropped 7. Oh, he's got a tough piece of wood. Turned a little bit so he can't really get at the 2-pin clean. Just gonna have to go at the cap.
Oh,
yes! Off the wall.
Coming off the wall, we will take a timeout and perhaps get another look at that fine shot by Mike Morgan as we go away. About halfway through this match, it's a tight one. Mike Morgan and Paul St. Pierre looking for their 3rd straight win. Well, we are just about at the halfway point.
And there's the story. 7 pins. That's what Ashline and Vadney trail by.
Ooh, punching out the 1-5-9. Pretty good effort. Start with that. If you can end up with a 9 or a 10, you've done pretty much, that's almost the equivalent of a spare right there. It was a very well-executed 10 bucks.
A lot of cleaning up to do, something like that. That's where you get your big scores, though, if you can work out of those.
Look out, this could all go. It
Yes.
does! Steve says, yeah, I knew I threw a good enough ball for a strike.
Yeah.
He actually did. That was a pretty good ball. The wood and the momentum carries for a strike.
Oh, missing the head pin to the left. Drops a half dozen on the spare. One, 3, 7, 10 left. Oh,
Wow, thought he had it.
didn't cover the 10.
So the lead is 13. Paul St. Pierre moves over to lane 31, misses the head pin right. He's got a spare leave. Oh, just missed the head pin.
Coming back, but I don't think it's going to be quite hard enough to knock the head pin down.
And it's still there. So a chance for Joe Ashline now to cut further into the lead.
Working on a strike.
Trying for another one, leaves the 10 pin. Oh, just sliding by.
It's funny, I heard somebody in the crowd say, boy, that wood on the left looks good. That's quite a ways away, though.
It's a 9-box. The lead in the match is down to 3. Joe would love to put a mark up here in the 8th. He's not happy about missing that single. It looked like he might have enough to get it over there into the corner, but he just missed it.
Not much of a break there. The 5, the 7, 8, and 10. Piece of wood, he's going to go right at the 5 pin and clip some of that wood to have it come off the left sidewall and hopefully give him some help with the 7, the 8, and the 10. That's what he's trying to do, and everything but the 5.
Oh, yeah, he's got it.
Great shot.
That is a terrific shot. He gets congratulated by Mike Morgan and by his partner and everybody. That was worth it.
Thought with the speed on his ball, the ball might drive right straight through and take the 5 itself, but either way, it's a spare.
Well, if Mike Morgan doesn't mark in the 8th, the team of Ashline and Vadney may swing back into the lead.
Lead still remains at 3, but now he has, Doug said, he has to contend with that spare.
In the pocket, but another split. This one a little bit more palatable than the last one. The 2-4-6.
If you're on the 2 pin, I don't think the wood's going to carry the 6. You got to try to split him. The wood might, he's going to come off the wall.
Nope.
He is kind of in the no man's land there with the angle of the wood and the pins that were remaining standing.
As always, we come to you on Candlepin Stars and Strikes from Park Place Lanes on Route 28 in Windham, New Hampshire. Very easy to find off Route 93. Exit 3 near Canopy Lake Park. And while you're in the area, you may want to stop in and try Amore Pizza right across the street from Park Place Lanes. Nothing beats a pizza that's Amore. Soups, salads, subs, calzones, fine Italian food at Amore Pizza.
Big 9 drop on the spare for Steve Vadney, and looks almost a certainty he'll get another one.
There it is.
122 in the 9th, plus the bonus ball, and a full box remaining. Can't expect Steve Vadney and Joe Ashline to continue throwing 101s. That's what they did the opening game. It's going to be a lot better.
Oh, and a big strike on spare. He's not done yet. He's now at 142 with 2 balls to come. Good chance for it. He's got it. You can hear Joe Ashline yelling double as soon as he let it go, and that was a great-looking ball there on the Brooklyn side. 152 plus a ball. Well, he won't get the triple, but he will drop 6 for a 158. Doesn't it seem like most of the double strikes that we've been having lately have been coming in the 10th box?
Yes.
Seems like it happens more often than not.
Don't get the full advantage of it, but result, 158. He'll take that.
Well, how about this? Ashline and Vadney started that game with a 65 half. Then they added 93 in the second half.
No. Going by the 3-pin.
"65 pins in the last 3 frames alone for Ashline and Vadney. Spare, spare, strike, strike, 6.
The lead is ballooned for Vadney and Ashline to 17, but that's the good news. Bad news is they're still facing 26 pins in this final frame.
Well, trying to make something happen, but it will not. So it'll be Ashline and Vadney with the lead now after game 2. After coming from a 16-pin deficit, they make up that and a lot more, as they will take a 34-pin lead into game 3, 259 for Ashline and Vadney, 225 for Morgan and St. Pierre. We're back after these words.
Well, from trailing by just 3 pins about 4 boxes ago, now they're trailed by 34. Big turn of events there at the end of that second game by Steve Vadney. Ooh, the 189.
Oh, wow.
That close.
Almost.
And 10, they need marks.
It's funny how it can change so quickly. This match was just about dead even going to the last 3 boxes of that second game. And then all of a sudden, that little explosion, 4 marks in a row, including a double strike, and all of a sudden the lead is 34.
Oh, and again,
boy,
he
2
makes
of them.
a great effort on some shots that you think there's just no way he can make them, and barely nearly pulled both of them off.
2 very difficult 10 boxes.
Say that. 34-pin advantage for this gentleman and his partner.
Ashline and Vadney have changed the batting order for the third game. Steve Vadney will lead off this.
Can't understand that, can you? I mean, only through spare, spare, double strike.
In the 6 boxes he rolled in that second game, Steve had 5 marks out of 6, and he almost had another one right there. He'll settle for a 10 box. That just takes a box off the score sheet. Very close. Look at that.
Oh.
How many times did that piece of wood go by there? 3 times? Flipped
Think
around?
so.
Take it. Let's see if the back row will go out. 7 goes. 8 and 10 remaining. Oh, what do you do on this one, Dan?
Well, let's see if he can
A
get
couple of options.
He would like a clean shot at the 8-pin because he's got a wood right next to it. But all he can do is play the piece of wood in front of the 8-pin and try to split them.
There is room to get by, but he'd have to hit that left piece of wood too, and I don't think he wanted to do that. Cost him the shot.
Not leaving any pins standing, though. 2 less frames that Morgan and St. Pierre have to work on. Down to 8 frames, still 34 pin advantage for Vadney and Ashline.
And Paul pulled that one to the left. Paul St. Pierre looking to convert if he can, and he does.
Oh,
Wow. I had that one marked down.
It was half over and stood right back up again. No luck for Paul St. Pierre on that one.
And it's still there. Let's take another look. Watch the piece of wood that hits the 10-pin right there. I think you're right. That second touch.
Yeah, it steadied it and it stood right there. Well, there's a couple pins he didn't think he was going to get. The 3 and the 7, 2 and the 7. Leaves just the 10-pin, and see where that wood settles down.
That wood in the back may be important. Because if it deflects that piece of wood in the front, it may deflect it right around the 10-pin. Well, now it's out of the way. Let's see if it stays there. It does. Well, we'll take a rip and convert for the spare.
Well, could have just easily been 2 marks in a row, but it isn't. What could have, should have, and would have, but didn't. Joe Ashline for his 3rd and 4th frames.
Big first ball. Leaves the 4-pin. All kinds of wood frozen and in front. Plays it in front, takes it all out. Joe from Nashua does a lot of his bowling at the Leda lanes and also at the Pilgrim lanes. In Haverhill, works as a salesman for Time Electronics. Wife Robin. Sons Derek and Cody.
7-pin and a rocking 7-pin in the corner for him. 2, 5, and 7 pins left. Trying to make it 2 in a row, and no.
We will take a break. That's a 10 box for Joe Ashline, 47 through 4. When we come back, Mike Morgan will be working on that spare, trying to get his team back into it. They trail. We'll return in a minute. Well, Mike Morgan filling what could be an important spare here. A good fill will keep the lead right about where it was at the beginning of the match. And then, of course, it's a question of, do they have enough time to come back? 8 drop.
Not an easy mark. Double piece of wood out front is going to kill the ball a little bit.
Got it.
Drove it straight back. 2 in a row.
That is only the 7th mark for the team, Dan. And, of course, the first 2 weeks, they've had 15 marks total. Looking for 3 in a row, and there it is. It'll be strike on spare. Well, that'll help the cause.
Certainly does. 4-10 left there. There goes the 4, and finally the 10 for the strike. 3 in a row for the team. Steve Vadney. Might have wanted that one to stay up. Let's see where this wood settles down. Not an easy shot.
May have to cap it. Let's see. Nope. I'm going to try it the other way. I don't know if he was intending to do that or not.
No. No, I think he's too far left.
Yeah, maybe it was there. Well, 10 pins off the lead, and now a strike working here in the 6th, so could get interesting yet here.
Good looking ball, but not an especially exciting leave. 5, 7, 9, 10. Piece of wood between the 5 and the 9.
Well, Paul St. Pierre is going to step up for his final 2 as we begin the last rotation. And he will be working on a strike. And there is still room.
Well, there's lots of room. 22 pins. It's going to fill the strike. Of course, a double. Well, misses the head pin, drops 7. Got another bonus ball coming. 1, 3, 7 pin left.
Oh,
yes! There's another one.
That's a big one right there. That cuts the lead to 12. Perfect.
12, and they're still marking. Again, just missing to the left. This will be a difficult one. He's going to try to hit the 1 and the 3 and hope. No. He's still got some work ahead of him. 3, 7, 8, 10 left.
And it'll be a 6, so that really negates the effect of the mark. Just 21 pins in the 2 boxes. But still, I don't believe Joe Ashline will want to leave 2 open frames, and he doesn't.
That might have been a big one. The strike in the 7th.
Even with that small fill on the mark, had Joe not marked in either of those 2 boxes, this thing would have been just about dead even. Oh. Well, it's on a strike. That's the good news, so he can throw another one. And to make up for the half Worcester, and he'll take 9. Almost got the spare. That brings the lead back up to 16, and it will go even higher because of the 6 box.
Push it right to 20 with this one. Mike Morgan's just going to have to put up 2 big marks and hope for the best.
So that is the situation. The lead is 20. With 2 boxes remaining, which means, of course, that if Mike were to put up anything more than 20, that would force Steve Vadney into a double strike situation. If you need more than 40 pins in 2 boxes, you've got to have a double strike somewhere.
Oh,
and, oh my.
That is half off the lane.
I'll tell you, you take that one, and then remember the one that Paul St. Pierre had earlier when it looked like he had a spare on the 10 pin. This thing could be completely different.
You heard it from the crowd, I think. A hammer keeps it interesting, meaning throwing a strike on this spare. We definitely need a big fill and another mark. Of course, he'd like the strike.
Looks pretty good.
2 solid 9-pin drops.
Well, a big fill here in the 10th by Mike would mean that Steve Vadney would at least have to pin well in order to preserve the win. But it all comes down really to this fill. This will go a long way toward determining it.
Yeah, you really need 8 or better. No.
Lost it to the right, a 5 fill, a 142. That means that a 109 will do it for Vadney and Ashline.
They're already at 114 clips, so.
Right.
15 pins. That's all Steve Vadney needs. It's going to make it interesting after.
How many times have we seen this happen?
I know.
Mike Morgan and Paul St. Pierre, by the way, wound up with a 367. We'll see if that's good enough. Well, Steve's going to have some work to do in the 10th.
Uh-oh.
That's 8. He's got half of them. He needs 8 more for the win. No, 7 more, rather. He needed 15, so he needs 7 more. That may do it right there. It does. That's good enough for the win.
Interesting match, though, right down to the final box.
We've had some great ones here in this doubles tournament so far. And Steve will add the mark. Move that final score up there a little bit more. Be up around 380 somewhere, depending on this fill. Whoa! 381 to be exact. 20 in the 10th. 381 as Joe Ashline and Steve Vadney knock off two-time champions Mike Morgan and Paul St. Pierre. Ashline and Vadney will advance to the semifinals next week. And we'll tell you about it and talk to the bowlers in a minute. And back on Stars and Strikes doubles after 2 wins, Mike Morgan and Paul St. Pierre unable to make it 3 in a row, facing obviously a very tough team as all of them are at this point in the tournament, and just couldn't get the momentum started really in this one.
Well, it was like real close. Then Joe made that crazy shot there that went, and then Steve got up to 9 double before we were down 30. It was like, what happened?
It did happen very quickly. It was a very tight match until that double strike and that cluster of marks right at the end of the second.
No, I didn't help my partner too much this week anyway. So.
Well, we appreciate you both coming by. You have your checks, 4th place prize money, and we appreciate it, and we'll hope to see you both next year.
All right, thank you.
All right, Mike Morgan and Paul St. Pierre. And now let's bring up Joe Ashline and Steve Vadney and 2 other folks. We're going to see Derek and Cody Ashline as well. Congratulations, Dad. Steve, with the big win. It was a question of getting the right drops and the right marks at the right time. Your partner had the strike ball working there for you.
I had nothing. You could talk to him about bowling because this was terrible.
Well, Steve, you guys, you did have the strike ball working, and that double strike in the second game obviously gave you the lead, and then in the third game you were able to hold on.
Yeah, right. If we could have stayed on 32, especially me there, I think I went 4 strikes there on 32, nothing on, 31, nothing on 32 there. But we'll see what happens next week.
Well, you got the guys you had to face in that one-string roll-off next week, Mike Morrill and Jack Quinn, so we'll see the 2 of you and also Cody and Derek next week. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right, Joe Ashline and Steve Vadney with the win as they roll a 381 to knock off Mike Morgan and Paul St. Pierre's 367. Let's take a look at the ladder, and we'll catch you up to date for semifinal week, which will be next Sunday here on the Winds at 12 noon. Mike Morgan will still be around. Can't seem to get rid of him, as he'll be going for his 3rd straight win in the Singles Tournament of Champions. And then here on the Doubles Tournament of Champions at 1 next week, it'll be Joe Ashline and Steve Vadney against Mike Morrill and Jack Quinn.
Oh, it should be another good one. This one back and forth today. Just a matter of those final few frames for Steve Vadney in the second game meant the difference.
I think Derek has started bowling. That means it's time for us to get out of here.
I think the show's over.
All right, we'll see you next Sunday at 12 noon here on the Winds for 2 full hours on semifinal week of the Tournament of Champions. Until then, for Dan Murphy and the whole crew, Doug Brown, so long from Park Place Lanes.